Welcome to Murder.
And everything else.
My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. And Joy and I are two old friends who are going to discuss murder and everything else. Yes.
What's up, losers? Just a quick reminder, this podcast is not for children.
No, it is not. We talk about murder and mayhem.
Mayhem. Who's Mayhem?
It's spam. We talk about murder and mayhem and just all kinds of stuff that is not appropriate for kids.
That's right.
Or adults who act like kids.
That's right. You know what started yesterday? It's like an annual event in our house.
Oh, no.
It's called Le Tour de France, and it's a bike race that starts this year in San Sebastian, Spain, and goes all through France. And then it's like a 15-day race, and it's like a religion in our house.
Because, is it? I didn't know that.
Yes, because my husband is obsessed with cycling. And so every June, we have a conversation that goes like this. I'm going to have to subscribe to network television so I can get the Tour de France. And then I'm like, okay, great. And then every morning, it's great because now, back in the day, he used to have to wake up at like 3 a.m. to watch the live stream. But now everything is like, it's so accessible, right? You can watch stuff whenever. You can watch it recorded. You can watch it, I don't know. I feel like you could probably watch it before it even is recorded. But he wakes up. That's right. He gets up and it's riveting. And then, of course, it's like we get lots of fun commentary. And I will say, in all those years, I think it was 7 times that, that one American cyclist who shall remain nameless, apparently was cheating his way through the race every year. And then it took them how many years to figure it out. And then they stripped him of his titles. I have to say, I watched it. I would get really excited, because, but it's so sad when you find out someone is just cheating at that colossal stage.
Yeah.
That's a huge race, and all the things to go through to try and, cheat at that race. But anyway, the Tour de France.
Does his name rhyme with Dance Armstrong?
Yes. Yep, that's right.
Was Gabe like totally bummed? Was that his idol?
No, it wasn't. He actually was like a big Greg LeMond fan. And I think Greg LeMond won like 3 times, maybe. I will say this, that it was pretty like Gabe used to always say, if you look back, he's like, it's pretty obvious the guy was like, cheating. But anyway, whatever. I don't know. It would be like it would be like you taking a math test on percentages and coming out with 100%, and you're all, look at that.
Hey,
I got 100%, and you're all, it was a total fluke. You know what I mean, though? Like, take a subject that you're really not good at. Like, for example, it would be like me having to sit through something that required like 100% concentration, and they're all, you concentrated fully for 100% the whole hour. I'd be like, nope, I sure didn't. I was thinking about, when I was going to get my pedicure. I was running through the Spanish alphabet. People, he was up. He had all these, remember he had cancer. I think he had prostate cancer or something like that. Oh, I think he had ball cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they chopped off one of his balls, and he came back from that, and he was like stronger than ever, and he was like winning. It was like, have you seen somebody who goes through treatment for cancer? They are not winning races.
Yeah.
Maybe like 5 years later after they work out and get really strong again, but like, I don't know. Anyway, then to find out like how he was winning and the elaborate scheme. There's documentaries out there you
Oh
can
yeah,
watch. But
I
anyway,
watched them.
it's a religion in our house. And you know what is the perfect storm is when the Tour de France happens and then next summer it'll be the Paris Olympics because we are big Olympics fans. So it's always like so riveting because we're not the kind of people who hang a flag out of the house and all that, but we show up for Team USA, let me tell you.
Mm.
And we are all the way Team USA and we're like rah rah rah. And yeah, but you know what is going to happen this summer is women's uh women's World Cup soccer.
Mm.
Woo, woo. That's another religion. So anyway, we've got weird sports over here.
No, that's cool. And your daughters are into it too?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we have to drag them, kicking and screaming. We'll be like, "No, really, you'll love, you know, the long jump." And then but also we also enjoy the Winter Olympics too. That's fun too. But anyway,
Hmm.
enough about sports. Why don't you roll us into your highs and lows?
Okay, so one of my lows is that I went to the doctor. I've had my trials and tribulations with having a doctor. The first one, 4 months out from my appointment, called the day before, said that they called me the day before, said they don't take my insurance. Then I found someone else. 2 weeks later, she left the practice. Then I found someone else, and then she stopped taking insurance. Stopped taking any insurance 8 months later.
What?
Yeah, so I rolled up my sleeves, dust myself off, stop crying and whining about it, and I had to go. I still don't have just a PCP. And so because I have surgery coming up, I have to have like this pre-op stuff done. Also, I take a bunch of medications and I don't want to run out of refills and then frantically be looking for a doctor.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully, and then this is the trend here, that I've noticed, besides people quitting and not taking insurance or calling me the day before my appointment to tell me they no longer take my insurance, is I noticed that you can't see the actual doctor. It's all nurse practitioners and
Or PAs.
physician's assistants. Yep.
Yeah.
So my orthopedist, I've never seen him in the year, going on a year in October that I've gone there. I've only seen the PA, who I love. I mean, she's
Maybe
great.
maybe it's like Weekend at Bernie's and he's really dead.
Right? Who knows? I mean, I am going to meet him before my surgery, so stay tuned.
Hmm.
And then with this place, I did my due diligence and I went on my insurance's website, made sure this doctor was in network. I even called them, even though they're probably looking at the same website to tell me, yes, she's in network, but I still wanted to hear it from them. So then I called and I said, is Dr. So and so taking new patients? Um, she is, but you'll have to see her nurse practitioner. It's these elusive doctors that I've never seen. I've only seen their PAs and their NPs. Anyway, she was great. But so my low is uh that I stepped on a scale for the first time and I don't know how long, maybe a couple of years.
I thought you were gonna say, I don't know how long I have to live. I'm
That
like,
would
what?
be
What
less
happened?
traumatic. That would be less traumatic than the number on the scale. Let me just
Oh,
tell you. Oh, that's my low. It's just,
oh,
why do we have
Cheryl.
to have scales?
Why did you get on the scale?
They make you, it's one
Why?
of the first freaking things that
You
they do.
close your eyes. You get in there. Here's what you
Yeah, but
do.
then,
I'm
then and then sometimes when they're taking it down, they're like, "Oh, okay, you're, da da da," and it's
No, listen, my doctor has forgot I'm sorry, the medical assistant the last 3 times I've gone in. I don't know if they're so stunned by my amazing like the purse that I'm carrying or how cute my shoes are or how hot I look, but literally we'll get into the room and they'll go, "I forgot what the weight was." And every time For the last 3 visits, I have dropped it by 10 pounds just for fun. So I'm like, and I wait for her to go, yeah, right. And she doesn't say anything. So I'm like, fine, who cares? Like, so eventually she's going to remember, write it down and go, well, you really blew up this summer.
Oh my God. Yeah, anyway, it's a terrible, terrible experience. It's traumatic for some of us. It really is.
Now
When
you
you're
have
talking like
PTSD. Ooh, when you go to the doctor and you
that,
fill out those forms, you can check the box that says PTSD
PTSD,
and you can say, um, please, when it says please explain, if you check these boxes, you can be like, I stepped on the scale the other day.
right? Well, now, so they had you put your purse down and stuff, but I want to like take off. I want to like strip down,
Oh yeah. No,
and
I've told the medical
then
assistant,
and
like,
hold
they
my breath.
need to have a private room for women where we can take all of our clothes off and we can towel off any body sweat we have, and also we can pee because that weighs
Mhm.
something.
And I had just
And
eaten.
yeah.
And then I left my shoes on because normally I take them off, but I was like, I'm gonna be brave. Plus, I don't want to step on other people's cooties or the bottoms of their shoes, whatever stank was on them. So in my head afterwards, after I saw the astronomical number, I went, well, surely my Birkenstocks were at least 5 pounds. So
Oh my God.
anyway, yeah. So that was
Yeah,
my
I wear the lightest clothing I own. I have a dress that I think is made out of I mean,
paper.
it basically weighs like less than bubble wrap. And I wear that dress. I don't care if it's transparent. I don't care if you can see my granny panties. I wear that, and then I wear a pair of flippy flops that don't match, that are really ugly and have dog hair crested all around the bottom. And I don't even put makeup on because makeup weighs something. And then I don't put clippies in my hair. I mean, the other
Oh
thing
my
is,
gosh.
I
Jewelry.
and oh, and then the other thing is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but maybe they don't ask it where you live, but here, since the pandemic, and I guess they identified a lot of people that had food insecurity during the pandemic. So now you get a questionnaire and it's like 3 or 4 questions about food insecurity. And every time they ask them all, do I look like I have problems with food insecurity? I'm all, my insecurities clearly lie in other arenas. Like, and food insecurity is that it's like, do you worry that you won't have enough money to buy food for yourself or your family? And I'm like, do I look like I'm worried about, like, I'm leaving here? Because usually I also go on something called like a doctor fast, which starts the morning of the appointment and ends that whatever time I leave the appointment, because it just so happens to be like right next to a Taco Bell. So it's perfect. And then I usually finish it off with one of those soft serve ice creams from another place that should remain nameless. But anyway, because I'm starving. If your appointment's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I
Oh,
haven't
I
eaten
know.
anything.
Well, I have that
So
to look forward to next week because she's gonna do blood work and I was like, okay, I'm used to like having my blood taken like at 8 in the morning, but this is not till 11:20, and I'm gonna have a headache.
oh, no.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard for me. But yeah, so that was my low, and my high is that we'll have to stay tuned and see if this doctor. No, she's not a doctor. She's a nurse practitioner. We'll see if in 2 weeks she's still there. We'll see if in 8 months she's still taking my insurance. We'll see if that's my high. I will report
Carol,
back to you
that
because if I
doesn't
can
sound
find, after 2.5 years, if I can find a general practitioner, finally establish my someone and keep them for longer than 8 months and through no fault of my own, then that will be my high. But that is yet to be, the jury's out on that. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that's not a real solid high.
Well, it's the best I got right now because I didn't sleep because my dog is manic depressive, and
Oh
I
my
don't know
God.
what's happening, and I'm not getting any sleep, and my throat started hurting last night. I think from stress
Oh
and
no.
lack of sleep. So anyway, let's roll into your highs and lows, or else I'm just gonna continue on my low. I've got a lot of lows.
Well, I have to say that I'm going to start with my low, which I don't usually do, but I also woke up this morning with a sore throat and I was like, is it allergies? Is it a sore throat? But you know how you can tell if something's not an allergy? Because it just
Yeah.
feels like it's
Mhm,
settling in. Whereas an
mhm.
allergy is something like you wake up and your eyes are running, or you wake up and your nose is running, or you wake up and you're sneezing. This was like I woke up, I coughed for like a half hour and cleared my throat, and your throat gets all dry and sore during the night. Ugh. So anyway, I took allergy medicine and I'm hoping that I am not getting sick. And then my high is that my niece is giving me a laptop for free. So
Woohoo!
I know I don't have to
That
pay
is so
$500 for a
awesome.
laptop. And I'm super, super, super excited. I got to tell you, I had a hard time picking the high because I had so many awesome, awesome things go
Can I use
down.
some of yours sometimes?
Yeah, you can.
Nobody's giving me a laptop.
I'm gonna write them up. I think I just gave you a tip on how to lie to the medical assistant, though, who takes your weight. So just know that they don't remember from the time you step on that scale to you get in the room what number that. So just make up a number. Just be like, oh yeah, it's like 130, and they'll be like, okay, 130. They write it down, and then they'll be like, wow, congrats, you lost so much weight since the last
50
appointment,
pounds from the
or
last
they'll
time.
be like, bummer, you put on a couple pounds. I mean, they don't. I don't know. Maybe that's being too dismissive. But anywho, I'm just telling my personal experiences. And that rolls us into shout outs. So I have to say that I want to shout out Chris in Oregon, who Facebook messaged me a couple of adorable pictures of her sipping coffee from her new Murder and Everything Else mug. Thank you, Chris. Also, a shout out to our 2 new subscribers who have taken us up to a whopping 66 subscribers. And just so you know, friends and friends who are listeners, our goal is to hit 100 subscribers by year's end. So, how can you help us get to our goal? By telling a friend, chatting us up to your coworkers, sharing our link with someone you know. Let's get Murder and Everything Else community to help us out
Yeah.
by pushing our subscriber goal to 100 subs by year's end.
Come on, we can do it. We can
And
do it.
we can. And one of the ways we're going to do that is I'm just teasing our giveaway, but we are going to be doing a giveaway. And next week, I'm going to go over a few terms and conditions, and we're going to launch it the week after. So if you, I'm not going to tell you, I think that's July 30th because, we do record this before it's released. But anyway, it's either July 30th or August something, 6th. But we're going to have a giveaway. So
Stay
make
tuned.
sure to listen, follow, subscribe, like, rate, all that fun stuff because you'll find out about the giveaway rules,
Yay,
terms, and
yay,
conditions.
yay, yay. Hey, I just want to say also, I just want to remind people that we have an email address. It's murder and everything else at gmail.com, spelled out murder and everything else. So send us an email. I don't know, just say hi
Yeah.
or tell us
Comment
how
because
much you love us.
or hate us because remember you've really arrived when people start sending you hate mail, and I would love to hear about how you don't want to hear about how I can't sleep at night, or how
The
blah blah
junk
blah,
in the front and the junk
the
in the
junk
back. That's what
the
mine
junk in the
is doing at
truck,
work. where I was working. He listened to our
That's
podcast.
right.
The one
Or
where you were
how
talking about junk in the
Amazon
front.
screwed you over, or your credit card didn't work at the Crunchwrap store. I mean, whatever. So, anyway, you guys, Cheryl has put together, and also remember, this is called Murder and Everything Else. People love, love, love the murder stuff. Cheryl's put together a great podcast. So take it away, Cheryl.
Okay, well now we're gonna take a real turn on the tone of our episode of our recording here, because this involves someone that I went to high school with. I think she was 2 years younger than me, and I used to dance.
So that makes her only 75.
Shut up. um, but she also took lessons and then eventually became a teacher at the studio where I grew up. It's called Rosalie Whitson Dance Academy, and it's still there. It's being run by my other friend from high school. So this story hits really close to home because I knew this person, and her name is Diane Suzuki. And this episode is about her disappearance. And I want to say it's the disappearance and murder of Diane Suzuki because she has never been found. And we all know what happened. And it's a very frustrating case because that person, her murderer, is still out there. So, yeah, it's very, very disheartening for people in Hawaii. And, Hawaii is very small. So it's like everybody knew this story. And it's also very eerie because I knew her and I know the studio. So when I heard about the events that took place and the evidence and stuff, I I know the room. I know the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like I've been in those places. I've been there. I grew up at that studio too. So it's very, I wanted
Scary.
to do this earlier on, but I wasn't ready for it. Um, yeah. So anyway, we're going to talk about the disappearance of Diane Suzuki. And my sources, I have to follow something because I can't put something together myself. I'm not a writer like you, Joy. But
Oh,
it's so I followed along with it's an article called Seeing Red, and it's written by, or I think that's the name of the actual like publication. Anyway, it was written by Waylon Hostler on November 27, 2021. So that's my source, and obviously my own knowledge of Diane and the Hamasaki family and the Rosalie Whitson Dance Academy. So much like the rest of the United States between the 1960s and the 2000s, Hawaii experienced its own spike in violent crime, a wave that washed over the country, leaving people learning the hard way why it's far better to lock your doors at night or any time when you stop and think about it. During the pivotal years when the other parts of the country were experiencing a high rate of active serial killers, Hawaii was dealing with the Honolulu Strangler. This serial murderer has yet to be caught. This is
I'd
another,
never heard of the Honolulu Strangler.
you know, that's why you got to listen to this
Crazy.
podcast. You got to listen to this podcast, Joy.
Oh, I'm listening, girl. I am listening.
Yeah, we had a Honolulu Strangler.
Oh my gosh.
I guess every city has one, right? The Boston
See,
Strangler.
I learn something new every day.
This is another one of those awful moments, and a moment that wouldn't be forgotten, not by the family or the community surrounding the crime. There was some suspicion that Diane was a victim of the Honolulu Strangler, but there was no evidence of this, and any connection was quickly ruled out. July 6, 1985 started like any other day for 19-year-old Diane Suzuki. She had plans with her friends that evening after working at her part-time job. She worked as a dance instructor at the Rosalie Whitson Dance Academy in Aiea on the island of Oahu. She was an aspiring journalist going to the University of Hawaii. A young woman with big dreams. She was loved by her parents, adored by her friends. She was going somewhere with her life, and it seemed that everyone in her life knew it. The class Diane was instructing ended at around 3 p.m. It was shortly after this class would have ended that her friends arrived to pick her up as they had plans to go out for the afternoon as a group. They waited for Diane outside the dance studio at around 3:15, and when there was no sight of Diane after several minutes, they became concerned because this wasn't like her. She was always where she said she would be. She didn't have a habit of flaking on people. In fact, they saw her car had been abandoned out in the parking lot next to the studio, something that sounded alarms for them. She had also left behind her purse and the keys to her car. At this point, they contacted Diane's parents and informed them of what was going on. Because this was so unlike Diane, her parents ended up heading to the dance studio themselves, sitting outside to wait for her, just in case she showed up again. Instead, they saw something else, something that would stick with them for the rest of their lives. While waiting to see if their daughter would show up, the two witnessed three people coming out of the dance studio hauling a large trunk. It looked heavy, and it left the parents of Diane confused, although at the time not completely suspicious as to what could be inside the trunk. At first, the disappearance of Diane was treated just like that, nothing more than a standard disappearance. She was a young adult. There was nothing they could do if she just decided to leave. Of course, as the days ticked away, the search for Diane grew, as did as did the suspicions that she hadn't merely walked away from her whole life. As the police searched for Diane, they began to interview people. One of those that was interviewed was a man by the name of Dewey Hamasaki. He knew Diane and was a photographer that worked at the same dance studio. You have to understand, I know these people. I know Dewey, I know his sister, Karen, who used to teach hula at the studio, and they have another brother named Stanley, who I danced with. He was my dance
Wow.
partner. So reading these names is like very surreal. The biggest reason that Dewey became one of the people that was interviewed is he was one of the people Diane's parents had seen coming out of the dance academy that day. He had been hauling the trunk from the building with the help of his father and sister, loading it up into a vehicle before leaving. He was also known to openly have a crush on Diane, although she wasn't receptive to it. The day that Diane disappeared, there were rumors that she'd been talking to another guy outside of the dance studio and that Dewey Hamasaki had become jealous and confronted her.
How old was Dewey?
I do not know that. That's a
Interesting. I
great
mean,
question.
if you had to guess.
He was probably in his, I don't know, 20s. Let's look it up. Um, um, while I'm looking this up, I just want to say that Diane was 4'11" and like 105 pounds,
Oh my gosh,
something like
tiny.
that. Yes, very tiny. I have never seen his age anywhere, but that is a very good question. But he was older because Stanley, who I danced with, was younger than Dewey. And Stanley was around my age. And so Dewey was older and she was only 19. I'm sorry. I've never seen anywhere that they've given his age, but that is a very good question. The interview with Dewey didn't stop with just questions. He was discovered to be covered in scratches in the days following her disappearance, something he explained as being from the rooster that belonged to his father. The police did manage to get him to do a polygraph test. He failed the test completely. However, it wouldn't hold up in court as the court wouldn't allow for a conviction with a lack of evidence at the time. There was no body, no signs of foul play, just a liar and a missing woman. Also, they don't allow polygraph tests, the results in court because
Yeah.
it's too unreliable.
Yeah.
It was at this point that the trail goes cold. There were searches done in the marshes behind the house of Dewey Hamasaki and all around the island. They would hunt for Diane until there was nothing left to look for. This is where everything leaves off for 6 years. Then, several years later, luminol finds its way into the hands of investigators, including those in Honolulu. They reopen the case, seeking a search warrant for the dance studio as well as the pig farm that belonged to the family of Dewey Hamasaki. Only the dance studio was approved at first, and when exploring and using the luminol, they found traces of blood in the bathroom. It is believed that the bathroom is the initial crime scene where she may have been attacked. However, with no samples of her blood to test, there was no way to confirm. It would take 6 more months before the police could get a search warrant for the pig farm. They used this as a chance to search all of the land rather than the mere to search all of the land rather than merely the marshes surrounding the property. Upon looking, they came upon something unsettling that left them sure they had their man. There was a part of a stone wall that showed signs it had been recently rebuilt. When the police started focusing on this section of the wall, it left the father of Dumi Hamasaki growing agitated. This only added to their very quickly growing suspicion. They had nearly snagged Dewey once, and they were sure they would complete what they couldn't the first time. The lawyer to the family was present at the time and pulled the investigators to the side, immediately discussing going for charges of manslaughter and a plea deal. So while they're looking at this wall, the family lawyer is like, "Hey, can we get, you know,
Whoa.
yeah." However, investigators didn't want to do that. They wanted to catch Dewey, and they were sure they could find the evidence they needed. While conducting their search of the property, the investigators learned that the wall had been fixed only 6 months previous to them coming across it. One of the investigators also began digging around a tree stump on the property, only to discover clothing that matched what Diane had been wearing when she was last seen. They were even in her size. These things seemed to indicate to the investigators that the wall had been rebuilt in the 6 months since the first search for Diane had been conducted, as a means of hiding the body that the family indeed knew was on the land. It was in 1996, with all of this new evidence, that there was a push to press charges yet again on Dewey Hamasaki for the death of Diane. Everything was presented to 3 separate grand jury trials. However, in the end, it was claimed that there was not enough damning evidence to pursue charges against Dewey Hamasaki. I mean, that was not damning. The clothes, anyway, it was after this that the investigation went cold and hasn't been touched since.
It seems like it seems like with all of the advancements in, like, DNA evidence and
Hmm.
being able to, like, with a drop of blood or a single hair, be able to, reopen cases and retry cases and find, like, all this. It seems like they should, and maybe they will, but I feel like, that's not a good enough answer,
No, I know. I
especially
completely,
for Diane's family, you
yeah.
know?
Well, let me read this. In 1997, Diane was finally given a proper funeral despite her family not having her body to bury. In 1998, her mother passed away, and that left her father aging and seeking answers even after all these years. It was the first time in Hawaii history that luminol was used in a trial, and even though it revealed more to investigators, it wasn't enough. They
What's
struggled.
luminol?
Luminol is that spray they use, and then you spray it on an area, and then you use a black light, and if it illuminates
Mm.
like a certain color or whatever, you can see that blood. There is a presence of blood, and even if you try to clean the blood, the luminol is still will still detect that there was blood there. And that's pretty
So
incredible because it was the first case in Hawaii that they used it. I think that's pretty amazing.
so this guy's still out there just doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yep. So even though the investigation has become a cold case by this point, her family continues to seek answers. Those that loved her have not given up hope on bringing her home. It was a win in terms of advancing technology when it comes to criminal investigations. However, it was a loss because Diane is still missing, and her possible murderer continues to keep himself out of the law's way. So, if you
Oh.
have any information, please contact the Honolulu Police Department at 808 529 3394. Because, like you said, so I saw an article. Remember when the Golden State Killer was caught? He was caught like I mean, decades after all of his crimes. But it was like familial DNA that brought him down. And so, with all the advances in technology, I agree with you. They should revisit it because There,
Mhm.
where it said that they found blood in the bathroom, but they didn't have a sample to compare it to, they can use family now. So I feel
Mhm.
like they could have, oh, maybe not at the time because this was back in the 80s. And then 6 years later, when they finally got the warrant to um, investigate the studio, the bathroom, and everything. But now they can. I mean, you can compare it to familial DNA. But it's like, it's, it's frustrating because I've listened to a lot of stories on it, and people like pulled their hair out that the investigators didn't pursue um when the family lawyer was like, hey, can we like talk about manslaughter in a plea deal while they were investigating the property. So people are really like frustrated with that because it's like you want to go for the big guns, right? You want to go for death penalty or whatever. I don't even know if that was if that's legal in Hawaii, or if that's one of the ways of punishment. But they wanted to really like get him, and so they didn't agree to manslaughter or plea deal, and they could have had him.
I didn't know this, but did you know that the the Golden State Killer, uh his name is Joseph James D'Angelo Jr. He is 75, and he pleaded guilty before ever even going to trial, and he's now serving 26 life sentences. They didn't arrest him until 20 they I mean,
Yeah,
he
it
was
was very
charged
recent.
charged in 2018.
Yeah, it was
So
like
he
within the
was
last
like
5 years.
out on the yeah, he was out on the lam basically, like, doing his thing.
I know, that's what's frustrating is that, I mean, obviously the best case scenario is that these people are brought to justice, but the frustrating thing is they've lived their lives this whole time, free. Although I do have to wonder, like, are you looking over your shoulder? Can you sleep at night? I don't know, I'd imagine that would be pretty hard to do, but it's very frustrating because everyone in Hawaii knows what happened. Them carrying that trunk out of the fucking studio is so damning. Um, and like I said, it's just very creepy to me because I know that bathroom. It's connected, so you're in the studio. You don't have to go out. It's not like a public one where you go out and you know what I mean. It's for the building. It's inside the dance studio. So you have the studio, and
Right.
it's right there. And I mean, I grew up. That's where I trained, so I know that bathroom, and it's just like heartbreaking to picture it. What might have happened, but yeah, so he's just free, and I think he's still. I mean, I don't know what he's doing right at this minute, but I know he had his photography um, business. Um, but yeah, and it was, I felt really bad. My dance teacher is no longer alive, but of course, it was like a negative media on the dance studio, even though she didn't have anything to do with it. But your name is, people would call, and it would be like, because my mom was her secretary for the longest time. And
Oh
she said,
gosh.
people would call and be like, "Is this the place where Diane went missing?" It's just awful. It's like you don't want to be known for that. So I felt so
Right.
bad for my dance teacher.
Did you know that in 1993, Keith Kaneshiro, who was then the prosecuting attorney for the city and county of Honolulu, attempted to reopen the case, but after more than 300 hours of grand jury testimony and thousands of dollars spent on a new investigation, no charges were filed.
Yeah, I know. I heard that.
That's
Yeah, I
crazy.
mean, it's so frustrating because we all know. I mean, I don't understand why the
Yeah.
law
Oh,
is just really hard.
the father is also deceased now.
Oh, when did he pass? Because I think
His name was Masaharu Suzuki.
when did
Um,
he
it
pass?
it says on Wikipedia that the mother was Yuri Suzuki and the father was Masaharu, and he's also deceased. But
Oh,
it
what?
doesn't say when he died, but I imagine he died after, you said the mother had passed away, so
1998. Yeah, but
also,
it's
why are we not getting like Why hasn't anybody called a psychic on this? You? You
Well,
know?
I don't know how much credibility they have with law enforcement. I know they have, there are cases where they've actually, have helped solve something, but you need evidence. You know what I mean? Like you need evidence, and the rumor is that the pigs, they get,
Excuse me.
oh, bless you, they probably fed her body to the pigs because they eat everything, right,
Yeah.
including bones.
Um, it does say on Wikipedia that the family members called in Honolulu psychic Dale Shear, but there was no resolution.
Yeah. Well, and then I'm just wondering, they said they found the clothes by this tree stump, or the bottom of the tree, and I'm just like, why would you bury the clothes and get rid of the body? Like, why would you get rid of
Yeah,
wouldn't you burn the clothes or something like that? It seems weird, but I do know that there, some people like trophy, but I don't think. I mean, he's not a serial killer or anything. I think it was a crime of passion, you know, like
or maybe I mean, maybe he tried to assault her, and a fight or a struggle ensued, and he somehow, I don't know, like, didn't mean to, or use too much force. I mean, sometimes you hear that. It's
mm-hmm,
not, it's like, some she was very tiny. I mean, one of the things the Wikipedia page says is, it talks about, she was 4 feet 11, like you said, 109 pounds, slim build. I mean, that's a tiny, tiny person.
yeah, yeah,
I
and
could
oh,
p-
let me tell you, and the bathroom,
I could probably pick that person up with my right, arm.
is very small. The one that's upstairs, um, yeah, because there was a studio downstairs and a studio upstairs, and she was upstairs teaching, and that room is very small. And then there were reports that she had been seen talking to someone, to another guy outside, and I think she had a boyfriend at the time, and he might have come under suspicion because usually the boyfriend
Right.
or the husband or the spouse is the one that's suspected first, um but we all know who is involved, and it's just very weird because I knew them.
She has been missing for 37 years, 11 months, and 15 days.
Yeah.
I don't know why Wikipedia has that, but it does.
And is
But
that accurate? Who updates Wikipedia? Just anybody?
apparently you and I do. I don't know.
I listen to Psychic Eye Medium, Victoria Laurie. She has a YouTube channel, and it's one of the first. It's the first, and I want to say only. I think since then I've written, commented on somebody else's YouTube, but I don't usually. I just read comments and listen to the show and stuff. But um, every once in a while I'll get on a kick about Diane. I'll get into this rabbit hole. And so
Right.
a, a while ago, when Victoria and her sister started their YouTube channel, I was in this rabbit hole, and I was like trying to find any new updates on Diane, and they did an episode on it. So what they do is, her sister Sandy will read. She'll do the research, most of it, and then she'll read the case to her sister, who is the medium, Victoria, and then Victoria will give her opinion, or what she feels or sees from it.
Mhm.
So they did Diane's disappearance, and she was like, "Oh, no doubt, it was that guy Dewey." She's like, "There's no doubt in my mind that it was him." And it was the
Interesting.
first time that I ever commented, and they were just starting off their channel. So it's really nice because I've seen them go from like 28 subscribers to now they have a few hundred or whatever. It's really cool. But I felt compelled to write and just say, that I knew her, and that it's very difficult when you know someone and they've never been found, and like, what, everybody knows what happened. Um, and they
Right.
can't bring this person to justice. Oh, and then she was like, the one she made several comments, but one of the comments she made was that she goes, the investigator, she's like, I can't believe he didn't take the family lawyer up on his offer to, you know, have a plea deal for Dewey, or have the charges be only manslaughter. She goes, he should have taken that, and he should have. Well, in hindsight, he should have, but I guess they wanted, to go for the um, highest, um, what do you call it? A, accusation, or what am I trying to say? What's the word?
I don't know.
The highest
The highest crime, the highest charge, the highest.
charge. That's it.
Ugh. I swear to you, I think I should become a psychic because every time you say, "What am I trying to say?" Even if I'm blanked out or I'm ADHDing at that moment, I got to tell you, it's like I'm reading your mind.
Oh my God.
It's true. I swear. I swear. Somebody said to me once that Scorpios are like all like a fledgling or like somewhat psychic, that we all have like this low key like psychic ability. I
Really?
I believe it. Yeah. Listen,
Why?
I don't know. I know because we're more in tune with psychic forces. We're more in tune with the universe because we're Scorpios. It's just as you just know if you're Scorpio. But anyway, um I don't want to make the other 11
I
signs
need
in the
proof. I
zodiac.
need proof.
I don't want the other 11 signs in the zodiac to feel left out, but if you're Scorpio, you know what I'm talking about. So, I just want to go back to, it says that she was a student at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Where's Manoa?
Manoa.
Oh, it's
It's on
Manoa.
Oahu.
Oh, is it? Is it like a suburb or like a street or is it?
Well, no, it's a suburb.
Oh, it sounds, I know to you it doesn't sound exotic, but I've only been to Hawaii twice. I went when I was like 4, when we were moving back to the United States, because that used to be always the stopping point for, um, you know, like when you were going to Asia. So it was
Uh-huh.
when we moved back to California from South Korea. But I also went again when I was like 26. I was like a chaperone for the senior class. There was only like, I think 7 girls or in the graduating class, and I was the one of the chaperones because they needed a female teacher, and so I went.
I wonder
And
if did I
I
know
think
that?
I think I was like 20. I think we were there for like 8 days or something like that, and we rented a beautiful house right on the beach. Don't ask me whether it was North Shore or whatever, but I do know it wasn't like in the city. But I got to tell you, whenever I hear like Hawaii names in Hawaiian, or like just the way people pronounce it, it just sounds so exotic, and so it just sounds so different and really cool, you know?
Yeah,
Like when I hear like just even the names like Pearl City just sounds so beautiful. Like
it is.
if you go there, it looks like a pearl. Or, like they'll say like just like, and then the apostrophe and the I, like Manoa, it just sounds, and just the word Hawaii, it just sounds so beautiful. I
It
I
is
love it.
beautiful. And I think about, I've asked Kevin that. I'm like, would you consider moving there when, well, I don't know when, because he's already retired, but and he said yes. Do you want to know what is stopping me? And this is going to sound ridiculous unless
The
you understand.
bugs.
Yep, unless
It's
you
the
understand.
bugs. I told you I'm psychic.
You're
I knew you
psychotic.
were gonna say that.
No, I'm telling you, it's
You know
fucking
what would
true.
s- you know what would stop me?
Huh.
Tsunamis.
Um,
You're surrounded by water. You have nowhere to go.
I would take a tsunami over a roach.
For what? Girl, okay, just promise me this.
Oh
If
my
you move to Hawaii, find the tallest hill, preferably a
Oh my
volcano,
gosh.
and put your house there because I cannot be sleeping on the beach in a bungalow and worry that I'm going to wake up in Japan. I cannot. It would just stress me out. And I will also say, did I ever tell you that when I went there when I was like 26, we went to the Polynesian Cultural Center and they do all these different it's like they have like a little Tahiti and a little Fiji and a
Mhm.
little Bora Bora and a little blah 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 and you can go and see like the dances or some kind of cultural something. And I found this out later, but did you know that there's a huge Mormon presence on the island, and they also have a Brigham Young University
Mhm.
Hawaii campus.
Mhm.
And I guess the Mormon missionaries got to Hawaii first or something and really converted a lot of like Hawaiian people. Anyway, so I found out that a lot of the people, the young people who work at the Polynesian Cultural Center, it's like Disneyland Hawaii. And
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
and
exactly. That's a good
that a
name for
lot
it.
of the people who work there are Mormons who, live and go to the university, the BYU university there. Anyway, they asked us after like the Tahitian dance. Remember, I'm there chaperoning like 7 or 8, or I don't remember how many it was, but it was small. Um, Girls who just graduated from who are graduating from high school. They were seniors in high school, and we stood, and they were grouped around us, and they're like the guys had, like the little grass skirts and the face, like the Maori makeup and things like that,
Yeah.
or whatever
Uh-huh.
the Samoan, and Tahitian, whatever the Polynesian island that they were representing. And we took a group picture, and the guy, and it took a while because everybody wanted their picture taken. They had the official photography, and the guy who he was like on one knee on the ground,
Mhm.
and he like totally put his hand under my skirt.
What?
Oh yeah, and let me just tell you, it wasn't just like accidental oopsies, my hand slipped. Oh no, no. And I remember thinking, oh my God, is that appropriate for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Like, is,
No.
is that sanctioned by his bishop?
No.
Like, should he be doing that? Like, is this a welcome to Tahiti kind of a ritual? Because I was like, whoa. And I
Oh my
totally didn't.
God.
I remember jumping. And then I remember being like, well, I can't tell a bunch of seniors in high school. Of course, in hindsight, I probably should have told them. I should have gone to like the people in charge and be like, there's some guys over there doing stuff they should be doing. Anyway, I should have me too'd him.
Yeah.
That was so inappropriate. But whatever.
Oh my God.
Apparently, that was not a time's up event.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I'm so sorry that
I was
happened to
like, I
you.
remember looking at him and being like, oh, no, you didn't. And he was like, oh, yes, I am.
Oh
I mean,
no.
it was crazy. uh it didn't occur to me to be offended or angry or whatever, but anyhow, now you know a little story about what happened to me in Hawaii.
No, I'm so sorry.
I
That's
know,
not
that's
good.
crazy. Well, you know I hope that somebody hears this. And just going back to Diane Suzuki, I didn't mean to steer the entire podcast in my direction, but I hope somebody hears this and calls that Honolulu police number and has some additional information. Although you did say it's a small community, there's not a ton of people who live on these islands. So you'd think that if somebody knew something, they would have already notified the police.
Yeah. And like I said, it's frustrating because everybody knows what's happened.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know. It seems like they had a ton of evidence when they went to those three grand juries, or had the three grand jury trials, and even that, wasn't enough. So,
Yep.
it's hard to be hopeful, you know?
It is hard, but, I will say this, I mean, remember, I've talked briefly about it in the past, but my sister is in prison for a cold case as well. It didn't go for 37 years, but it went for more than 5 years. So, you can always hold on to hope that, somebody comes forward, they can't live with this on their conscience. There's a series of mistakes that are made, somebody finds something out.
Yeah, this is true. It could, yeah, because look at the Golden State Killer. I don't know when he
Exactly.
stopped his last, I don't know when his last murder was, but I'm pretty sure he thought he got away with it because
Dude,
what?
he's
It took
serving
forever.
26 life sentences
Yeah, well, you know what though?
for
He
something
didn't
like
get
that.
caught, like you said, until his 70s. So that is
Right.
fucking, it's
That's
sad.
crazy. Well,
Yeah.
even though this crime, this murder was a horrible crime, Cheryl, you know what else is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
Oh, duty. Um, thanks for listening,
Dude.
everyone. Poopy spoopy. Thanks for listening, everyone. And don't complicate your day.
All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch created and managed by Kevin Cowan. Podcast editing and advertising by Joy McKeon. Visual representation provided by John Woljesic. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can visit us at Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube. And finally, you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.